morning, everybody. I'm sure you guys have witnessed the price of some things this morning, like the cost associated to waking up late, or the cost of your morning coffee. Perhaps you got a Starbucks, it was a little bit more. Maybe you made it at home, so it was less. You know, the cost of driving, which fill your car, or perhaps the cost of taking the bus or the light rail, which for all of us costs us nothing. Well, today I'm going to talk about the price of a burger. I'm not talking about the price that you pay the cashier to get it. I'm talking about the price the resources used. The average meat-eating American has at least one burger per week, or as much as 3 per week. On average, that's as much as 152 per year per person. Meat is not only extremely costly for the animal to give, which of course they give with their life, but it's also extremely costly for society to consume on the mass quantities that we do. Even though animals are considered in general to be a beloved companion, they are still slaughtered in alarming numbers every day. Imagine 34 million something. It could be your favorite food or beverage. It could be 34 million people, cars, single dollar bills. Imagine that mass. Well, that is the amount of cows or cattle slaughtered for beef in the United States in 1 year. And nearly all cows used for dairy in the U.S. are eventually slaughtered for human consumption. At an average of less than 5 years of age, after a continuous cycle of impregnation, birth, and milking, exhausted cows are considered spent and sent to slaughter. And millions of them are eaten by Americans when they turn into hamburgers. In a natural setting, a cow can live for more than 20 years. Leonardo da Vinci said, "The time will come when men such as I will look upon the murder of animals as they now look upon the murder of men." The world is really symbiotic. Everything is connected. The choices you make do not affect you alone. The method I will talk about looks at how a simple food choice can affect everyone through something as simple as the air we breathe. This method will require you to look at the effects of meat consumption on this world as a whole through the output of CO2, carbon dioxide, and methane into the atmosphere. When talking about this, you have to think that it's more than just producing the burger, than just the life of a cow, or the fuel used to do so. You also have to consider like the milk to make the cheese, the holding of cows, feeding, watering, butchering, refrigerating, shipping, cooking, and the price to make all the other things that go into it, like the pickles, the ketchup, the mustard, the bun, the wrapper. But when talking about just the fuel used, on average it's 350 to 800 grams of diesel per burger, 400 to 1,300 grams of gas per burger, and 600 to 2,200 grams of coal per burger. That's from a study called the Cheeseburger Footprint, where they look at the amount of fuel used to make a single burger. According to the same study, a beef cow must be 21 months old to be sent to the slaughterhouse. That's about 2 years. A single cow produces 220 kilos of methane before it's killed. That's just, what cows do naturally out in the pasture, wherever they're being held. Just their natural waste produces 23 kilos of carbon dioxide. To visualize how much this is, 23 kilos of carbon dioxide would take up half a football field, and that's cubed. So a cubic meter would be 3 meters long, 3 meters tall, 3 meters deep, so it's a cube. So if you take those meter cubes, you can put a half a football field long of those, half a football field wide, and a half a football field in length. So it'd be a half a football field cubed. It's a really big cube. A cow can produce 500 pounds of meat. So those half football field cubes would be 2,000 burgers. Remember in the beginning when I mentioned 34 million cattle slaughtered per year? Well, a half a football field is only 2,000. So the amount per year of carbon dioxide from a single cow or from the cows used in that year is a lot of methane. Just to put that in a local perspective, there are about 630,000 people living in Denver. So if just half the people in Denver today ate a burger, you can see how that can start to add up. At 3 burgers per week per citizen, we can find the annual metric tons of CO2 released into the atmosphere. And this is from the cheeseburger footprint study. So they took the citizens, the kilograms, and converted it into metric tons of CO2. And what they found was the output of carbon dioxide for the yearly consumption of burgers is equal to 19.6 million Hummer H3 SUVs on the road. So think about cheeseburger consumption as 19.6 million Hummer H3s. So that's really congested roads and highways. So next time you eat a burger, think about a Hummer. And then the important thing about this is resources. Why should we care about the cost in resources in our favorite foods or activities? Well, resources are finite. But since the world is symbiotic, we know that everything is connected, but it's also systematic, which means what you do affects the other thing, and affects something else, so it's really all connected in steps and sequence. What you do has an effect. Take clean air, for example. Did you know that the ancients, they used to burn forests to drive animals out for hunting? Well, that wasn't really a big deal back in the day because the population was so low. Today we think burning a forest, oh my gosh, what are you doing to the environment? But back then it wasn't a big deal because the population was so low. Try chopping down a tree. If you say, Amanda, chop down a tree, I'd be like, okay, what's going to be the effect? I'll probably get halfway through chopping the tree before I give up. But today we have all these technologies and tools to help us do these things, so the effect is much greater. We can chop down and deforest, clear a forest way faster than a single person or group of men could do it. The native people believed that nature would regenerate itself, and it was true because the population was so low. But today, with our greater population, better technology, more consumption, and the rise of non-degradables and disposables, we contribute to environmental consequences. And we may see it into some of our most valuable resources. A recent study published in the journal World Watch has found livestock production to be responsible for as much as 51% of global warming pollution. And we don't get as much out of beef as we spend in resources. On nutritiondata.com online, you can find nutrition data for pretty much anything you put in there. When I looked up a quarter pound of beef, it has more than 200 calories, hardly any minerals besides iron, and about 70 milligrams of cholesterol, 70 milligrams of sodium, and 13 grams of fat. This only gives you 20 grams of protein. Compare that to spinach, which doesn't take nearly as much resources to produce, and yields just as much protein without any cholesterol, only 2 grams of fat, and about 150 calories. Spinach is also full of dietary fiber, vitamin A, vitamin C, calcium, and iron. If everyone in the US stopped eating meat for one day, we would save 100 billion gallons of water, 1.5 billion pounds of crops otherwise used to feed livestock, 70 million gallons of gas, 3 million acres of land, an area more than twice the size of Delaware, and 33 tons of antibiotics. All these resources could be used to feed starving children and adults in impoverished nations who lack clean water and food. We could be using these valuable resources to care for fellow human beings rather than wasting it on a single beef chuck that is not nutrient rich. After all, we have much healthier alternatives available to us in the US. It really says a lot about what we value with what we spend our resources on. Nothing will benefit human health and increase chances of survival for life on Earth as much as the evolution to a vegetarian diet. That was said by Albert Einstein. I hope the information I have given you has given you insight to the cost cost of the simplest things in the age of mass production and dwindling resources, are wanting to ask yourself if your favorite meaty entree is really worth the long-term environmental effects that last considerably longer than your appetite. And it's really seen by lots of philosophers and our most intelligent people in history that vegetarian diet really makes sense for the evolution of humanity, because we really can't keep going on the same track that we are. To end it with a Roman historian, he says, "A body in no way resembles those that were born for ravenousness. It hath no hawk's bill, no sharp talon, no roughness of teeth, no such strength of stomach or heat of digestion, as can be sufficient to convert or alter such heavy and fleshy fare. But if you contend that you were born to this inclination to such foods that you now have a mind to eat, do you then yourself kill what you would eat? Do it yourself without the help of a chopping knife, mallet, or axe, as wolves, bears, and lions do, who kill and eat at once. Rend an ox with thy teeth, worry a hog with thy mouth, tear a lamb or hare in pieces, and fall on it and eat it alive as they do. There is nobody that is willing to eat even a lifeless and dead thing as it is. So they boil it and roast it and alter it by fires and medicines, as it were, changing and quenching the slaughtered boar with thousands of sweet sauces, that the palate, being thereby deceived, may admit of such uncouth fare." Thank you.